Good day. My name is Barter. I'm a sustainability communication strategist with a master's in environmental management from Stellenbosch University in South Africa. I'm an accredited chartered public relations practitioner with PRISA, the Public Relations Institute of Southern Africa, and I am the founder of the PR agency. Today's presentation is part of the Global Alliance Education, Training and Development Month. During this presentation, I hope to educate you, inspire you, and equip you with guidelines to help you to communicate sustainability effectively and to help you mitigate the risk of greenwashing. In October 2020, Sir David Attenborough made headlines when at the age of 94 he joined Instagram. In just under 5 hours, he broke records by reaching 1 million followers with a very clear message. Saving our planet is now a communications challenge. Understanding the role communication plays, Attenborough's debut on Instagram was to help get his message across regarding climate change and to encourage people to take action. His call to take climate change seriously is urgent because our planet is warming up and fast. Scientific reports warn us that if the Earth's global temperature increases by 2 degrees Celsius, we could face catastrophic weather events and unique challenges that will affect all life. We are already seeing the effects on climate change taking place globally. Glaciers are melting, oceans are warming, coral reefs are dying, wildfires are increasing, and extreme weather events such as droughts, storm surges, torrential rains, and flooding is becoming more frequent and more violent. These events are having a devastating effect on our biodiversity, on wildlife, on marine life, and on human life. People have lost their homes, their livelihoods, and their loved ones. In just 2021 alone, media have reported devastating stories regarding flooding, hurricane, wildfires across the globe. In just 1 year, we have heard of extreme weather events happening in South Africa, United States, Germany, Belgium, Greece, Turkey, China, and as I record this, in Australia, and that's just to name a few. Images of homes destroyed by floods and hurricanes, koala bears being rescued from burning fires, turtles and seabirds tangled in plastic. All these images are becoming more frequent on news and social media sites. The rise of the eco docu-series over the last decade, like David Attenborough's A Life on Our Planet and Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, all of these have created immense awareness of these and other key environmental issues, such as deforestation, plastic pollution, biodiversity loss, food waste, and overfishing. Communication has and is changing the way people view the environment. Stories and images like the ones that I have mentioned to you are resonating with consumers and their emotions, and has prompted a shift in attitude where people are becoming more conscious of the impact of their behavior on the environment and are becoming more motivated to take action. Consumers today want to know that the company that they are supporting is not profiting at the expense of the environment or people. Even the way consumers spend their money has changed. The green or eco-conscious consumer is so mindful and supportive of environmentally related issues that they are prepared to switch allegiance from one product or company to another, even if it entails a higher cost. Company stakeholders are also seeking value and deeper insight into a company's long-term sustainability goals. Investors in particular are interested in both profit and risk around environmental, social, and governance issues, also known as ESG. Now, investors and stakeholders want to know that a company is genuinely moving towards sustainable and environmentally responsible practices, and that these practices extend throughout all operations of their business. Businesses are experiencing increased pressure to demonstrate their responsibility, not just from consumers and stakeholders, but they're also experiencing pressure in terms of legislation, industry standards, reporting frameworks, and even the adoption of voluntary international agreements like the Paris Agreement, the Glasgow Climate Pact, and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Now, these changes have affected the business environment and has prompted many companies to either voluntary or mandatory move towards sustainable, environmentally responsible, low carbon, resource efficient businesses. And to demonstrate their actions and commitments, companies are not only changing the way they do business, but they're also changing the way they communicate their environmental ethos and actions as a purpose-driven brand so that they can better connect with their consumers, stakeholders, investors, build trust, and influence behaviors. Today, we are seeing a growing number of companies now communicating sustainability, and they're doing so through their packaging, their website, social media, marketing materials, as well as press releases. And many of these companies are communicating their green or environmental credentials via environmental claims, certifications, eco-labels, and symbols, and especially around carbon emission and waste reduction claims. So we see claims like recyclable, compostable, biodegradable. Companies are also touting net zero and carbon neutral claims, just to mention a few. However, with the growing pressure for these companies to demonstrate their commitment to reducing their impact on the planet, unfortunately, not all companies are being truthful about their environmental claims or practices. In an effort to take advantage of consumers and their current attitudes and emotions towards the environment, some companies might find it tempting to fluff up their environmental efforts with misleading claims to lead consumers to think that their products are good for the environment, all to increase their bottom line. And this is unethical and is known as greenwashing or greenwash. Now, Greenpeace defines greenwashing or greenwash as the act of misleading consumers regarding the environmental practices of a company or the environmental benefits of a product or service. So, in other words, greenwashing is everything the company does to lead the consumer to think that their product has a reduced environmental impact without being able to substantiate their claims with verifiable and scientific data. Most of the time, companies don't greenwash out of malice, but rather due to inexperience, lack of understanding of environmental issues and technical processes, which can all lead to inappropriate or inaccurate green claims. Even being over-enthusiastic or exaggeration can lead to unintentional greenwashing, which is not good for business or the planet. Organizations that greenwash their communications run the risk of irreparable brand and reputational damage, negative publicity, and a loss of consumer trust and investor confidence. And trust, as communicators, we know, once broken, takes forever to repair. Greenwashing is becoming a communication challenge. Companies that do not tell the truth makes communicating sustainability even more challenging, as consumers are less likely to take pro-environmental action if they feel that they are being deceived. We see greenwashing quite often when it comes to general environmental claims, such as environmentally friendly, natural, green. And the problem with these general environmental claims is just that. They are general, vague, they are ambiguous, unsupported, and they really don't tell you much. And many, if not most of these claims require scientific or technical evidence to substantiate or qualify when making the claim. So how do you spot greenwashing? So I thought I would share a few pointers created by an environmental consultancy called Futera that might define greenwashing and give you a few examples. So the first is fluffy language. These are words such as environmentally friendly, natural, green, very ambiguous, vague claims. And to most consumers, environmentally friendly might imply that the whole product has an environmental benefit when it might not. So an example would be free range. For one company, their free range label might mean that the animal went outside for 15 minutes a day. For another company, their label might mean that their animals roamed a 10-acre field for all of its life. The second one, green products versus dirty company. This is, as an example, a company that manufactures energy efficient light bulbs, but they are made in a factory that pollutes rivers. Use of suggestive green imagery. We see a lot of this. And usually the product is secondary, hidden among images of nature, of rolling hills, of forests, anything that implies nature, which gives the consumer the idea that the product might have a reduced environmental impact. Then we have best in class. This is when you declare that you are slightly greener than the rest of your industry, even though your industry is pretty terrible. So an example that comes to mind is the airline industry. So if an airline touts that they have low emissions or have the lowest emissions, flying is one of the worst carbon emitting modes of transport. Another way to spot greenwashing is irrelevant claims. So an irrelevant claim is, as for an example, this pen was not tested on animals. It was never going to be tested on animals in the first place, so it's an irrelevant claim. And the same applies when you use a claim to say that your product has never harmed the environment. If it never harmed the environment in the first place, it's an irrelevant claim. Then, just not credible. Eco-friendly cigarettes, anyone? Greening a dangerous product doesn't make it safe. Then we have the gobbledygook. This is the scientific jargon and technical information that may make it difficult for consumers to understand. Then imaginary friends. This is one of my ultimate favorites when it comes to greenwashing. These are companies that use self-endorsed logos that look like it's been endorsed by a third party to gain credibility with eco-conscious consumers. An example would be labels that say eco-smart, energy smart, green choice, smart choice, endorsed by Mother Earth, even eco-safe are some of the logos that I've personally seen. And then the last is outright lying and no proof, which I think is self-explanatory. To mitigate greenwashing from our communications, it's imperative that as communication professionals, we thoroughly scan environmental claims beforehand to ensure that the claims are true and can be substantiated. Here are a few guidelines that might help you to communicate sustainability effectively and to help you to mitigate the greenwashing from your communications. The number one rule when it comes to communicating responsibly is authentic, genuine, and honest communication. Transparency is the best currency when it comes to building trust. Number two, make sure that your communication is consistent throughout all aspects of your business, that you walk the talk from manufacturing to marketing to management, that your words and actions are consistent. When it comes to your target audience, make sure that you don't just reach your target audience, but that you relate to them. Make sure that you understand what motivates your audience. Understand what their legitimate concerns are, because understanding that is the first step to knowing how to engage with them. And to make sustainability more relatable, help your consumers to connect the dots by linking sustainability issues to topics that are of interest to them, such as health, wealth, jobs, aspirations, home life, and self-improvement. When it comes to communicating and reporting, make sure that you communicate and report the right materiality issues. Do not omit information that could be relevant and that can assist consumers in making an informed decision. Non-disclosure or omitting information can be construed as deception and is one of the biggest reasons why corporate companies are being called out for greenwashing. Sustainability claims must be backed up by verifiable evidence or reasonable rationale. The lack of scientific data to support environmental claims could generate skepticism and confusion, which will drive consumers away. Using credible and well-recognized third parties for accreditation can also help you gain strong credentials. And a great rule of thumb when it comes to sustainability claims is when in doubt, leave it out. Be aware of greenwashing. Make sure that you scan your environmental claims before communicating it to your consumers. Do a greenwash check. Make sure your claims, your words, symbols, images are not vague and that they are rooted in truth, are accurate, and can be backed up. Individuals are more likely to accept information if they can relate to it. So too many labels, certifications, terminology, buzzwords, and jargon can be confusing and can be ineffective. So it's best to use simple, clear, and understandable language that everyone can understand. In the words of Nelson Mandela, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. With distrust being so high in terms of media and fake news, it is important that you become a credible and reliable source of information for the media, especially in terms of environmental issues and sustainability. Ensure that your information is relevant, concise, and accurate. Adherence to an industry code of ethics or standards will assist with credibility as well, and also hold organizations within your industry accountable. As communication professionals, many of us are bound to a code of ethics, which holds us accountable if we knowingly or intentionally mislead consumers or communicate information which is not truthful. And lastly, make sure that your communication encourages and affirms actions. We need impact, not just words. My master's research highlighted that people have a high concern for environmental issues, but their pro-environmental actions is low. And researchers call this the intention-action gap. People want to make sustainable choices, they want to take action, but barriers such as cost or convenience or confusion around environmental claims can prevent them from taking action. So by understanding the barriers to action for your consumers and stakeholders will help you to target your sustainability communications even more effectively. To bridge this gap, we need to make sure our communication is simple, is truthful, understandable, and actionable. You know, we may not be climate scientists, but we are communicators, and that is just as powerful. Because as communicators, we have immense power to shift consciousness and ultimately influence the behaviors, attitudes, and perceptions of consumers and stakeholders through the process of how, when, and in what way we communicate our environmental ethos and actions. So to conclude today's presentation, how can we as public relations professionals and communicators solve the communications challenge of saving our planet as highlighted by David Attenborough? It is clear that our role as communicators is changing. We are now seen as change agents, as translators of the planet, helping to communicate the climate emergency to a range of different audiences across a range of different channels, translating complex technical terminology into messages that are understandable and actionable. My hope today that is that at the end of this presentation, you feel more confident and inspired to rise to David Attenborough's communication challenge to help save our planet. As communicators, we have a pivotal and powerful role to play. We can inspire change and encourage action, where we actually make a difference to this place we call home, Earth. Thank you.